On Global TV News Prime, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu departs Abuja on a 3-day nation diplomatic trip. And on Business, First Lady flags off 2027 farming season, pushes for mechanized farming. And on the foreign scene, United Nations raises alarm over attacks on journalists ahead of World Press Freedom Day. And in sports, Confederation of African Football confirmed dates for 2027 AFCON. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Jumai Manson. Now, a quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Now the news info. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu departs Abuja today on a 3-day nation diplomatic trip to France, Kenya, and Rwanda, in a move aimed at deepening Nigeria's global partnerships and advancing economic reforms. According to the statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononga, the President's itinerary will begin in France before proceeding to Nairobi, Kenya, where he will participate in the African-France Summit scheduled to commence next week. The summit, co-chaired by French President Emmanuel Macron and Kenyan President William Ruto, is expected to focus on key global and continental priorities, including energy transition, green industrialization, digital transformation, climate action, and restructuring of global financing architecture. President Bola Tinubu has held a high-level engagement meeting with all living former governors of Plateau State in Abuja. The meeting, which stretched into the evening at the presidential villa, brought together a powerful delegation including former governors Simon Lalong, Jonah Jang, Joshua Derie, and Fidelis Tapkan, alongside traditional rulers and key political figures. Fresh commitments on security, relief funding, and most significantly, a historic political reconciliation among the state's leadership was achieved. Governor Mufwang described it as a major step towards lasting peace in the crisis-prone state. Supporters of Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso have moved to close ranks ahead of the 2027 general elections, forming a new political bloc under the OK movement. Political correspondent Obong Usoro tells us more.
The alliance, which brings together the Obedient Movement and the Kwankwasiya Movement, was unveiled recently in Abuja. Both groups rose to prominence during the 2023 elections. Obedient as a youth-driven political force backing Peter Obi, and the Kwankwasiya Movement as a well-established grassroots structure led by Rabiu Kwankwaso, particularly dominant in northern Nigeria. Their coming together now signals an early attempt to build a formidable opposition coalition ahead of 2027. The coalition is aimed at consolidating grassroots support for their principles and mobilizing Nigerians ahead of the next general election. Buba Galadima, a longtime ally of Kwankwaso and a leading voice within the Kwankwasiya political structure, said the alliance is focused on national unity and political reform.
We have issues in this country. Nobody will drop from the moon and solve these problems for us.
Also speaking, Aisha Yesufu, a leading figure within the Obedience movement, stressed the need for active citizen participation in shaping Nigeria's future. The ADC AMAC 2023 chairmanship candidate and the Secretary General of the Obedient Movement, Moses Paul, said Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso represent the hope of the common man.
The people who delivered the most brutal of lifelong legacies of movement across the world are people who are not just moved by just emotions.
Adebayo Adefola, in her speech called for stronger partnership to rescue Nigeria from years of mismanagement.
The message is that how do we strengthen structures and mobilize Nigeria towards a decisive victory?
With early alignment already shaping the political landscape, observers say the success of this coalition will depend on its ability to sustain unity and translate support into electoral strength. Ubon Usoro, Global TV News.
Over now to the Independent National Electoral Commission has recognized Hakeem Baba Ahmed as the national chairman of the People's Redemption Party 1 month after the party's national convention. The commission updated its portal to reflect the new members of the National Working Committee of the party, bringing an end to days of uncertainty and agitation within the party. The PRP, one of Nigeria's oldest surviving political parties, had elected Baba Ahmed, former special advisor on political matters, to Vice President Kashim Shettima at its convention held in Abuja. A presidential supervision team has met with governors of All Progressive Congress in a bid to reduce crisis in most states in the forthcoming 11th National Assembly elections. The team met with the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, and some principal officers. As the adoption of candidates for next year's elections continues to gather steam across the country, the All Progressive Congress APC stakeholders in Kano State have adopted President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the party's presidential candidate and Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf as the governorship candidate. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has rejected claims to the leadership of the party by former Senate President Adolph Wabara following the Supreme Court's notification of the November 2025 Ibadan National Convention. The PDP warned Wabara to desist from speaking for the party as the tenure of the PDP Board of Trustees, which he once headed, was long expired. Wabara issued a statement moments after the Supreme Court's judgment, saying the Board of the Trustees had assumed leadership of the party with immediate effect pursuant to the empowering provisions of the Constitution of the party. Moving on now, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs has thrown its weight behind a historic 10 million women walk, signaling a bold national push for inclusion, empowerment, and grassroots mobilization of Nigerian women across all sectors. Samuel Odi reports.
Speaking with journalists shortly after the walk, Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development Iman Suleiman Ibrahim says the strategic movement is aimed at amplifying the voices of women while delivering participation in national development. The minister says the walk represents a unified call for policy impact, economic empowerment, and stronger representation of women in leadership space.
And what better time could it be? But now, when we do have a he for she, who is the president, who has invested in women, who believes in women, who has prioritized issues of well-being and welfare of women, children, and has also declared this year the Year of the Family and Social Development, because he's aware of the importance of the family unit, which is with women being the backbone of our families and communities. So this movement is simply, to help us come together as one, speak with one voice, energize our movement and choose our choices in block.
The APC Deputy National Women Leader Zainab Ibrahim described the work as a defining moment for women's political and social visibility, stressing that it will further consolidate efforts to build a stronger network of empowered women nationwide. She added that the movement is designed to inspire participation and ownership at the grassroots level.
The Nigerian woman has come together so that we move in a united front, we forge ahead, because our underrepresentation in all aspects of life is too much. I want to commend the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Honorable Iman Ibrahim Suleiman, for her being such a mother under whom the Nigerian women will unite and stop working in silos.
Queen Akpan noted that the walk creates a vital platform for women to be seen, heard, and actively engage in shaping the policies that directly impact their lives.
This movement is to emphasize women inclusion in leadership, not just in politics, because we have women from across all the parties in Nigeria here present today to do this work.
The walk, which is expected to draw millions of women across the country, is positioned as a symbolic and action-driven campaign to spotlight key issues affecting women. Samuel Odi, Global TV News.
Amid rising unrest in South Africa, the Nigerian consulate in the country, in collaboration with the Nigerian Citizens Association in South Africa, has offered a free repatriation flight to Nigerians willing to return home permanently. The president of the association, Frank Owekwelu, acknowledged that the situation had forced many Nigerians to shut their shops and businesses. Now, according to him, there is currently no structured support system in place for affected Nigerians, but the consulate's intervention is already providing an option for those who wish to leave. Former Zamfara State Governor and Senator representing Zamfara West Senatorial District, Abdulaziz Yari, has intensified efforts to tackle insecurity in the state by engaging Islamic clerics to promote peace and strengthen community awareness. At a meeting held at his residence in Talata Mafara, the former governor urged imams to support ongoing efforts by the present administration to restore lasting peace across Zamfara State. Saadia Yakubu has details.
Former Zamfara State Governor Abdulaziz Yari stressed the critical role of religious leaders in fostering unity, peaceful coexistence, and security consciousness among citizens. He noted that imams as community leaders have a strong influence on public behavior and should use their platforms to preach peace, tolerance, and collective responsibility in addressing insecurity. The former governor strongly condemned the activities of informants who aid banditry and criminal operations, describing such acts as dangerous betrayals against society. He called on clerics to intensify sermons against all forms of collaboration with criminal elements and encourage communities to reject actions that threaten peace and stability.
So if the government are not having a very good will to the government, then of course the issues will still be there. And the government in one way or the other need the cooperation of the citizens to implement its own policy, the policy that will be for their own betterment.
Yari also appealed to the imams to dedicate time for prayers and strengthen public enlightenment campaigns on the dangers of insecurity and the need for harmonious living among residents. He maintained that sustainable peace can only be achieved through collective efforts involving government, traditional institutions, religious leaders, and the people.
But the ulamas, the imams, they are the closest people. And as I said, in Zamfara, we are 100%. To call, to put them in one room, to summon, when we join in someone, to talk to their people the importance of peace and importance of supporting government.
The meeting formed part of broader effort to mobilize stakeholders in the fight against insecurity and promote lasting peace in Zamfara State. Saadia Yakubu, Global TV News.
The Nigerian Air Force has intensified its air campaign against insurgents in the northeast, conducting a series of precision strikes on terrorist strongholds in Sambisa and Tumbunz. In a statement released by Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ehime Ejodame, he said the operations were carried out under the air components of Operation Hadi K. He stated that Nigerian Air Force has intensified the tempo of its air campaign in the northeast by unleashing sustained and aggressive precision strikes that are systematically dismantling terrorist networks. Meanwhile, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency have raided several drug joints across the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, arresting 132 suspects and recovering over 220 kilograms of illicit substances. And the arrest and recovery were recorded in a 2-week coordinated operations, according to a statement by the agency's Director of Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi. Babafemi said the raids, which were carried out between April 11th and 25th, 2026, targeted major drug hotspots following weeks of intelligence gathering and surveillance. At least 3 police officers have been killed and 2 others injured after suspected terrorists attacked a police mobile force camp in Tanebo community, Keama, local government area of Kwara State. The attack, which occurred in the early hours, caused panic in the Agarian community as residents fled their homes following heavy gunfire. Sources said the assailants arrived in large numbers and launched a surprise attack on the camp, overpowering officers on duty before killing 3 and injuring 2 others. Now, in a world where first impressions are formed within seconds, what we wear often speaks before we do. Fashion today is no longer just about clothing. It has become a powerful expression of identity and culture. Sadia Yakubu takes a closer look at how fashion continues to shape who we are and how we are perceived. Her report.
From traditional attire to contemporary streetwear, fashion tells stories of identity, heritage, and personal belief. Across societies, clothing often reflects status, culture, and sometimes even political expression. Over the years, fashion have moved beyond trends set by global fashion houses. Today, individuals are increasingly redefining style on their own terms, blending cultural heritage with modern influences to create unique personal identities.
Fashion is still, people see it as an identity because it shows who you are and where you're from. Like there's a way an Igbo man will dress, you know that definitely this person is from Igbo. And there's a way an Assam man will dress, you know that this person is an Assam man.
Social media platforms such as Instagram and TikTok have further amplified this evolution, providing a global stage for individuals to showcase their fashion sense and influence emerging trends. In Nigeria and across Africa, fashion remains deeply rooted in culture and tradition. Fabrics like Ankara are not just fashionable materials, they represent history, pride, and a sense of belonging. Beyond expression and culture, fashion is also being used as a tool for challenging societal norms. Many young people are now using style to break stereotypes and assert individuality beyond traditional expectations. In a fast-changing world, fashion continues to evolve, but its purpose remains constant: to tell a story, whether influenced by culture, global trends, or personal creativity. What we wear ultimately reflects who we are.
I think fashion is a lifestyle, and it can be inborn also.
Fashion is more than fabric and design. It is identity, voice, and expression woven together. And while trends may fade, personal style remains timeless. Sadia Yakubu, Global TV News.
The Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria has congratulated the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris Malagi, on his 60th birthday, marked May 2nd, 2022. In a statement signed by the Executive Secretary, Yemisi Bambose, Bond described him as a seasoned public relations and media professional, bringing vast experience in Nigeria's information management space. The organization also praised his calm, strategic communication style, highlighting his commitment to clear messaging without propaganda. You are watching the live broadcast of News Prime. News Prime continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Thank you for joining us. In the last 24 hours, atmospheric conditions across the country has been largely calm, except for few places over the southern areas where moderate rainfalls are being witnessed. So, but for Sunday, conditions will be slightly different due to the steady influx of moisture and increase in temperatures. There are good prospects for isolated thunderstorms to affect most cities around the southern half of the country, including the central areas and parts of Adamawa, Taraba, southern Kaduna, some parts of the Federal Capital Territory, Niger, Kogi, and Nasarawa states. And that's your weather from this end. Thank you for watching.
You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is News Prime on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. In business now, First Lady of Nigeria, Oluremi Tinubu, has officially flagged off the 2026 farming season in Niger State, calling for a decisive shift from substantive farming to modern, commercially driven agriculture. She says Nigeria can no longer depend on traditional tools such as hoes and cutlasses to meet the food demands of its growing population, urging farmers to adopt mechanized and modern farming methods. Tinubu made the call at the Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Airport during the launch of the farming season and distribution of mechanization support equipment aimed at boosting food production and tackling food insecurity. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has said the indicative gantry price of aviation fuel released by Dangote Refinery will ensure market stability and compliance by marketers. The Director of Public Affairs, George Eneita, made this known in Abuja. Eneita was reacting to the pricing and high cost of aviation turbine kerosene, known as aviation fuel or Jet A1 fuel. Dangote Petroleum Refinery has fixed its gantry price of aviation turbine kerosene at 1,820 naira per litre, a move aimed at enhancing transparency in the sector. Aviation workers in Nigeria are protesting rising inflation and the growing use of casual labor in the sector, warning that worsening economic and operational conditions are eroding the welfare and threatening industry safety. The National President of Air Transport Service Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Ogbe John, said that aviation workers are currently suffering under worsening economic and operational conditions. Addressing workers in Abuja, Air Transport Service Senior Staff Association of Nigeria recalled the struggles of aviation workers who have continued to keep the sector running despite mounting hardship. On the foreign news now, the United States has imposed sweeping sanctions on former Democratic Republic of Congo, President Joseph Kabila, accusing him of backing the M23 rebel group. The former president, who led DR Congo for 18 years from 2001, said the measures were profoundly unjustified, politically motivated, and based on unsubstantiated accusations. Washington alleges that Kabila provided financial support, encouraged defections from the Congolese army, and even sought to launch attacks on the military from outside the country. The United States have voiced concerns over the growing attacks on journalists, warning that attacks on media workers must stop. United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk stated this in a message ahead of World Press Freedom Day, observed annually on May 3rd. According to the United Nations report, roughly 330 media workers are currently detained, along with some 500 citizens, journalists, and human rights bloggers worldwide. Similarly, laws on defamation, disinformation, cybercrime, and terrorism are increasingly being used to protect the powerful, while costly legal cases are being used to intimidate and silence journalists. The United States Defense Department has planned to withdraw 5,000 troops from Germany amid a spate between President Donald Trump and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz over the war with Iran. Decision comes a day after Trump criticized Merz, who suggested the United States have been humiliated by Iranian negotiators. The U.S. has a significant military presence in Germany with more than 36,000 active deputy troops assigned to bases across the country as of last December. In sports news now, the 2027 African Cup of Nations will be played between June 19th and July 17th. The African Federation CAF announced without revealing which of Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania would host the opening of the final. The dates are approved by FIFA Council in Vancouver, Canada, after fears the countries would fail to be ready were quelled with CAF President Patrice Motsepe, who fought off a delay to 2028. This edition of AFCON, the first spread ever 3 countries, will mark the return of the competition to East Africa for the first time since the 1976 edition in Ethiopia. The stage is set in Gabon as Nigeria joins 38 other nations for the highly anticipated World Athletics Relay, with athletes competing for medals and crucial qualification spots for the future global championships. Beyond podium finishes, teams are also targeting places at the 2027 World Championships and the 2026 World Ultimate Championships, raising the stakes of 2-day competition. The championship, scheduled for today and tomorrow, will feature 6 events, including the men's and women's 4-meter metrics and 4x400-meter relays, alongside the mixed relays in both categories. Moving now, Ceylon Sports Nigeria made a dominant start to the African Senior Wrestling Championship in Australia, sweeping 4 gold medals on the opening day of the women's event. The country won 4 of the 5 available medals, underlining its intent in the race for continental supremacy as reigning African champions. Esther Kolawole led the charge with a commanding display. Competing in the 62 kg category, Kolawole overpowered South Africa's Kathleen Swan 10-0 by superiority to clinch her 5th African title, reinforcing her status as one of the continent's leading wrestlers. Elia Ogunsoya and Christiana set the tone for Nigeria's strong start, winning the nation's first gold of the competition. And that's it on News Prime. Here is a recap of our top stories again. Nigeria has officially flagged off the 2026 farming season in Niger State, calling for decisive shift from substantive farming to modern commercially driven agriculture. And on foreign scene, the United Nations has voiced concerns over the growing attacks on journalists, warning that attacks on media workers must stop. And finally, in sports, the 2027 African Cup of Nations will be played between June 19th and July 17th. The African Federation CAF announced without revealing which of Uganda, Kenya, or Tanzania would host the opener of the final. And that's it on News Prime. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. And kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @Global TV NG. I am Juma.